This is David with High Performance Stoicism. I want to talk to you about the topic, virtue is knowledge. It sounds strange, doesn't it? When we think of things that are knowledge, they don't seem to be things that have to do with the whole of our psyche, the whole of our soul, but prudence, courage, temperance, and justice do have to do with the whole of our souls. So it sounds strange that they are a kind of knowledge. So when we think of something being knowledge, we would say water is H2O. The earth orbits the sun. Human beings are primates. Those are bits of knowledge, but clearly the Stoics are not talking about that kind of knowledge. And I think the following phrase captures what the Stoics are talking about. The Stoics say that some virtues, the virtues that they're most interested in, prudence, courage, temperance, and justice, each one is a kind of knowledge and expertise. And let's take prudence. The Stoics say that prudence is a knowledge of what must be done and what must not be done. Now, here's the thing. If all you have to do to be prudent, to be virtuous, is to know what must be done and what must not be done, you might say, well, I think I'm pretty prudent as it is. But there's one thing that's missing from your thinking. And I'll just explain it in the following example. Let's say you're driving around in your old stomping grounds where you grew up, and someone says, "Do you know how to get to this restaurant?" And you say, "Yes, I know how to get to this restaurant." What do we request as the evidence that you know how to get to the restaurant? That's right, you actually drive there. So when the Stoic says that prudence is knowledge of what must be done and what must not be done, that means if you know it, you do the thing that must be done. You don't do something and then right after it's over or a half hour later look back and say, "Oh, I see what must have been done." It's something that is demonstrated as your knowledge by your doing it. This could be more clearly seen when we talk about the knowledge that's involved in prudence, because the Stoics say something else about prudence. They say it's a knowledge of what is good and what is not good, or what is bad. And you might say, intellectually, I know what's good. The Stoic view is virtue is good. Intellectually, I know what's bad. The Stoic view is that vice is bad. But how do you respond to things as they're happening? In other words, if someone you don't like insults you or slights you, you get angry. And in the Stoic view, when you are angry, that means that's a desire for revenge. But a Stoic wouldn't see someone insulting you as something bad. So that proves that you don't know what's bad because of the way you're responding. So when the Stoics talk about virtue is knowledge, they mean not just intellectually, something we can repeat, something we can give evidence for, something about which we can say, look, the Stoics say this, so I know what the Stoics mean. No, it's much more deep. It's much more thorough than that. You show you know the difference between good and bad by how you respond. In other words, if someone insults you, or you overhear someone at a party saying bad things about you, talking smack about you, if you are upset about that, if you are angry about that, you believe it would be a good thing to get revenge on them. Because the desire in the Stoic view is a kind of anger. If you hear somebody saying something threatening, let's say it's the same party, you've gotten over someone insulting you, and you overhear them. In this case, you hear someone say, I'm going to jump that guy when he leaves the party. Now, most people, and I would include me, if I hear somebody is going to jump me as I leave the party, it doesn't sound that good. And actually, it's going to create fear in most people. In other words, there's going to be a negative response, and someone can likely be terrified by that because, well, they don't know what it means. Is there going to be a weapon? Are they going to try to kill me, beat me up? Most people would be afraid of that. And why are they afraid? The Stoic view is they are afraid because they believe it would be bad for that person to jump them when they exit the party. But guess what? You said you know what is good and bad in Stoicism. You say, I agree with the Stoic view. It's only bad if I am cowardly, imprudent, self-indulgent, and unjust, that is, immoral. That's the only bad thing in life. But getting beaten up is not on that list. And so the reason you're afraid is because you mistakenly judge someone jumping you when you leave the party is bad, and that creates the fear. So the idea of the Stoics is, once again, when they say virtue is knowledge, they mean it's a knowledge that's so thorough that here's the Stoic at the party. The Stoic hears someone insult him. Look at that guy, Casper. He's a loser. He's a philosopher, right? So since I don't think that's bad, it doesn't disturb me. That would be someone who really knows what good and bad is. That would be a really prudent person. And let's suppose I am the wise man again. I overhear someone at the party saying, I'm going to jump Casper when he leaves the party. I'm not going to be afraid because I know that's not bad. Even if this person jumps me, that's not a bad thing to happen. So in order to understand this idea of the Stoics, that virtue is knowledge, you have to adjust your understanding of knowledge a lot more. Knowledge is made clear by how you respond to things mentally, how you respond to things that are coming in the future that you hear are going to happen, or things that are present. And if you get angry at the things I describe, meaning you have a desire to get vengeance on that person or you wish vengeance upon them, then that means you think that is a good thing. That means you don't know what is good. You don't know what is bad, because the Stoic view of knowing good and bad means if it should, either one of those things I described comes your way, you're not going to respond in an angry way. You're not going to respond in a terrified way. That just shows you don't know what good and bad is, because if you did, you would not respond in such a way. So that's it for today's video. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.